the Underpowered Hour. On this week's show, we're joined by Linus to talk about Knockoff Cybertrucks, the Sedona Edition Defender, Mendo Recce, and the Pacific Northwest Rover Rendezvous. And now, here's the show. Welcome to the Underpowered Hour. I'm Steve Beres, mild-mannered television executive by day and Land Rover collector by night. You can find out more about our cars and what we're working on at theberescollection.com or follow us on Instagram at theberescollection. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Goss.
Thank you to everyone joining us today. I'm the no start to Steven's remote start. I am the old crank handle of podcasting, Goss. I own and operate Pangolin 4x4 in Springfield, Oregon, where we live and breathe Land Rovers. Check us out online on Facebook, Instagram at Pangolin 4x4. Let's get started.
All right, Ike and Linus. It's a special Linus episode. As most people know, those are the most watched episodes, the most highly followed.
They have the most commercials.
They're the most commercially viable episodes. Sponsors are clamoring to get into the Linus episodes. Yeah, we have the sales team work overtime.
Gold Bond medicated powder.
The greatest thing is you just put the commercial over the times when I'm talking.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's how it works. Well, welcome, friend Linus. It is always a pleasure to see and hear you. For some people, I'm sure. In the news this week, I know this is gonna surprise you guys, but there's another special edition Defender.
What?
I know.
No way.
I know.
No way.
No way.
How can there be another one?
I know, right? Hey, it just seems so.
I feel like
unlike
when you go to the
JLR.
dealership, you go to the dealership, and there's an alphabetical index of the current special edition Defenders.
There's only one of each kind available. Like you have to go in and be like, what Defenders do you have? There's no two alike. You know, it's.
I want to just read this one line from this news article.
Yeah,
and it will either immediately draw you to this car,
yes,
or repulse you in a way that nobody had ever imagined. Here is the line: "New Ultra Fabrics trademark available in light cloud or lunar colorway."
Ooh, colorway.
What the heck does that mean?
I understand what each individual word means,
yes,
but in combination, they make no sense.
Right.
You know,
colorway, what's left over when you make cheese? Like,
I just think that the type of people who are interested in this car are so far removed from our daily lives that I can't even read the news article about the car and comprehend what is going on.
You're not
sure
in the
if
market
I'm proud
for
of that or embarrassed of this. I just don't know.
We need to request a translation.
Yeah, we should get ChatGPT on converting this Land Rover press release into series Land Rover owner speak.
Yes,
I'm sure she can.
Great idea.
She can jump in on that. Yeah, it is. This is certainly a departure. The old Sedona Edition. For a long time, Liza and I were talking about this last night. I've been calling it the Defender Tucson, which is the wrong city in Arizona. And she pointed out that, no, it's a wrong car manufacturer as well. There is already, because isn't there already a Tucson?
There
She's
is
like, yes, there is a
Tucson,
Tucson. It's not called the Tucson. Stop calling it the Tucson. And I'm like, oh, I thought it was called the Tucson, but it isn't.
Martha
it isn't
Edition.
Yeah.
Isn't that the artist town in Arizona?
Yeah, exactly. Martha.
So
Is that what it
this
is?
is this Defender is sort of a special edition 130.
It
right?
is. It's a 130
in the
it sounds like they're only making 130s now. I don't know. I mean, they have 110s and 90s, but they don't like them. They don't want you to buy those. They want you to buy this specific 130.
That must be because they have so many of them left kicking around, right?
I guess. I don't know. They really like this shape. Now, what is interesting, speaking of series owners, is that in the advertising, specifically on Instagram, that they have for the Sedona 130 is a swipe left, swipe right, and on the right-hand side is a Puma Defender in this same color, which is the first time I think Land Rover period or JLR period has ever compared a classic Defender to the current Defender. And I have to say the 130 wheelbase really looks like the 110. Like it really looks like the classic 110. When you sweepy swipe them back and forth, they really look sort of similar in their proportion. Now obviously, the new 130 is quite a bit different in its sort of panel contours, but
when you're doing this sweepy swipey, are you able to use the described Sedona feature, heightened tactility throughout the cabin, including Windsor leather, and here's my favorite one, Cavdrat seats.
Cavdrat? What the fuck is that?
Mean?
Is Windsor leather made out of real Windsors?
It's probably just like the modern version of the Corinthian leather.
Well, the nice thing about this 130 is that this is the first one with captain seats in the middle row, which is actually pretty nice. And it's you don't have to slide over the bench.
You're not a driver, you're just a pilot.
You're a pilot. Yeah, you're a captain. No, you're captain. You're a captain in the middle. That's the captain sits in the middle. Steer. Yeah, it's a center steer. And you've got the Range Rover-y side armrests in the middle, which is sort of nice on the middle row seats. And yeah, I like it. I think I like this better than the third row seating in the regular 130 because quite frankly, like the bench seat in the middle of the regular 130 it's not great. The 110's back bench seat is fine, I guess. But trying to get back to that third row is not super fun, having to kind of like sort of scamper your way back around that, that bench seat as it rolls forward. This looks like you've got a halfway decent chance of getting between these two seats. And I don't think anybody's really using that center middle seat in the back anyways. I mean, I think this is actually a better setup.
Is the sort of suitcase that's bolted to the outside, is that a new thing for this edition, or is that's
the spice rack? Yeah, no, the spice rack is standard, but it is painted Sedona red for this car only. Yeah. So
now I realized in researching this a little bit that this is a 110. It's not a 130.
It is a 110. You're right. I'm actually looking at it now. It is a 110, but it does come in a 130.
Well, a 130 comes in Sedona red, but I don't think it's the Sedona edition.
Oh, I think there is a Sedona edition.
Further confusion because I guess you can get the color in a standard car.
You can get the color maybe in a standard car, but the captain's chair pack only comes obviously in the 130. But the Sedona pack, I think you can get on either the 110 or the 130. Yeah, but you're right. The 110 Sedona edition is a 110.
This says, 110 Sedona edition, and it has the captain's chairs.
It does in the 110? I don't know.
If the interior. Oh, I see. My bad.
It's a mix.
Ultimate rear seat comfort. Long wheelbase models come with the individual captain's chairs. So the photographs of the 110 were showing like the interior of the 130.
That's right. It is a confusing article from Land Rover here where they kind of mix and match quite a bit. But
imagine their marketing being confusing. It's a first.
Yes, exactly. From the people who brought you, we're Land Rover, we're not Land Rover. No, we're still Land Rover, but we're not Land Rover, is the mix and match of the 130 and the 110 interiors. But yeah, it looks pretty nice. It's a nice color. I remember there being, actually, funny enough, a Jeep Cherokee that was this color in like the 90s. That was very popular.
Really?
Yeah, I remember there being a lot of Jeep Cherokees that were that color in the 90s. They made a maroony red color that was that color. So, anyways, there you have it. The old Sedona edition that comes with everything that
Doesn't
Arizona.
Kia make a Sedona?
Huh?
Doesn't Kia make a Sedona?
Oh, they 100% make a Sedona. Yeah, it's Kia that makes a Sedona. Yeah, you're
but
right.
This is not a Sedona. This is a Sedona edition.
This is a Sedona edition. You're right. This is the Defender.
I'm still going to say
Sedona.
That's a funny comparison. Land Rover should have thought of that.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I want to talk very briefly about another special edition, and I sent you guys a link to this. This is a special edition golf cart.
Oh.
And it's described. If you click on the link, you'll see it looks very, very much like sort of a Land Rover front end treatment on this golf
it
cart.
does, yeah.
It's described as the factory direct electric mini car, automatic low speed, small electric truck.
Which is a perfect description. I mean, very succinct, elegant. I do like that it does have the Land Rover front grille. It even has a place for the oval to go there. What do you guys think? Is that the new Pangolin shop truck?
I would drive that.
Did you notice the abbreviated model identification code?
No, what is it?
No.
It's the GUMF, the GMF.
GMF.
I'm just going to call it a GUMF.
That sure is a GMF. Look at that thing. I think you guys should get one. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, these things are actually shipped to you on a pallet, and you have some assembly that you need to put into these. I kind of think they're, depending on your state, they're like a gray area of road legal, but I'm sure around you guys, the local authorities are used to your shenanigans. You could probably get away with this. And I think this is a great little parts runner. You could toss Jason and Peanut in that thing and head down to the local Napa to get whatever it is you need.
For those of you listening at home, this looks kind of like maybe a P38 Range Rover in the front, or something like something of that ilk. But it's a crew cab pickup truck.
Yeah, it even has an oval badge. Yeah, but it's like a 1/8 scale F-150.
Yeah, it's a crew cab pickup truck for $2,500 that you could drive on the street in Idaho.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
But it's made in China, so nobody in Idaho will buy it.
No, nobody in Idaho will buy it, but
whatever. They all shop at Walmart. Everything in their homes is from Walmart.
And it is made by the well-known Special Automobile Manufacturing Company. So it's a special edition. So Land Rover people should love it.
Should love it. It is a special edition
with quality.
I'm not sure if it comes in Sedona red, but we could probably get a custom paint job on that for you if you were so interested. Yeah, so we'll get that up on the store. We'll put that up on the Underpowered Hour store. Some custom.
Maybe we should become dealers.
Yeah, I mean, how hard could it be, right? I mean, I think there's at least a few states in the union you could drive this thing on the street. No problem. I think at least Texas. I'm sure in Texas you could drive this on the street and do anything you want in Texas. It's that's a cute little vehicle. Speaking of cute little electric vehicles, I don't know. I know, Ike, you are a huge fan of Chinese knockoff Land Rovers. Well,
you'll collect them all.
You'll be more than pleased to know that they have expanded beyond knocking off Land Rovers to, I know, one of your favorite new vehicles, the Tesla Cybertruck, or as my daughter Cooper likes to call it, the doorstop car. They have now knocked off the Tesla Cybertruck. And we've talked about this company before. One of your favorite Chinese companies, Dongfeng, has a fake Tesla Cybertruck. It is a Cybertruck-looking electric car that apparently has 1,305 horsepower. Now, I believe it's made entirely of plastic. I don't think that there's any stainless steel on the car. It also looks like they took the like a sponge or something to the wet clay of a hard-lined Cybertruck and just kind of like smoothed everything over. There are no hard
just
lines.
Kind of rounded the edges.
Yeah. They just kind of smoothed over all the edges.
It does have a roof tent in the promotional photos.
Yeah, it does have an optional tent.
A roof tent. Yeah. Yeah, that kind of pops out of the bum of the car. There's like a little awning tent thing. So, yeah. Not bad. I don't dislike it, honestly.
This is like RoboCop's camper.
Yeah,
I was thinking that too. It looks a lot like RoboCop. Yeah, it does. And it looks like the tailgate has like swing open doors. It's got a lot of really interesting features. The wheels look interesting. It's got some kind of pod on the roof. We're not sure what that is. Like you said, it's got that trunk deployable tent situation. It really looks like RoboCop. Really looks like RoboCop.
You have 5 seconds to comply.
If you look, it has a little LED screen that runs across the front of what maybe is a headlight with a tiny animation of the car like driving across a mountain range, which I think is pretty interesting.
I would have one of those.
I think I like it more than the Cybertruck. You know,
It's hard not to.
It's got a lot of fun features that I think, are fairly whimsical.
It seems more developed than the
Yeah.
Cybertruck in its design.
It does.
Oh, like refined.
Yeah.
It's refined.
It's
It has
not as
actual
reductionist.
features,
Yeah, it does have actual features.
and
Yeah,
it has style. I will
does.
admit, it has a style to it that I kind of like.
It's very 90s.
It's a little bit less windowy,
Yes, I agree. It
Very little.
Did you see looks less homemade. The Cybertruck feels like something you could make at home. It really does.
Did you guys see the press release from Tesla over the weekend?
What's that?
They're selling $700 sledgehammers to commemorate the initial launch of the Cybertruck, where they hit the bodywork with a sledgehammer, so you can get your very own special edition Tesla sledgehammer for a mere $700
to then hit your Cybertruck with.
That's
apparently, or anything really you
Or
want,
anything
unless
you want,
it's a hard surface. It does say, "Do not strike things. Do not strike
So
hard
this
surfaces."
is like a
with this
single
hammer.
one-off prototype. It looks like. Is that your?
This
take on
one,
that?
I think, is unfortunately. It also looks like maybe it has the Unreal Tournament logo on the front of it, sort of shades of Unreal Tournament. It also has lots of like little lettering all over it, sort of denoting I don't know what, but it kind of looks cool. It definitely looks like a car that was made for some kind of future feature film, which I also like.
Did you
Like it has
notice
this sort of
has,
all this kind of lettering on the back. It's kind of neat.
The logo on the front looks almost identical to the old British Leland circular butthole logo.
You're right. It does. Oh, I'm just looking now. The tail light also has that little cartoon of the truck driving through the woods. So when you stop, cars behind you get to watch it.
The step that folds out
Yeah.
once you open the door.
Yeah, it looks like it's built inside of the door casing, so that like I assume you're sort
But
of
you have
rock
to open
sliders.
both doors.
I guess you.
It looks like you have to open both doors
think
to have it fold
I
down.
think you're right. I think you do. You
Oops.
always have to open both doors. It does have a frunk, and does the frunk pass through into the cabin? Is that a little hole that goes through inside of the car?
There's a little door there.
There's a little door.
Yeah,
so
you
that
can carry like a long piece of timber or something.
Of timber, and it gives you an extra
Or
foot
you
and a
can
half
carry
to go out into
the Tesla sledgehammer in there.
Oh, you can carry it in there. Yeah, that's great. I like also all of the people who are with it are in like these gray suits with white sneakers, like they're in a Talking Heads music video. It's pretty.
This is just pictures from the future.
Yeah,
they don't even.
I love it. I love this thing. Put me on the list, man. I'm ready. This is my.
Get yourself a Dongfeng today.
Get the Dongfeng. We do love Dongfeng. It is one of our favorite.
So
one of our favorite manufacturers.
There's 102% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles.
That is true. So might have missed your window for the Dongfeng. It's going to be a little bit pricey.
But since this is only $12,000, it's still
pretty reasonable. Yeah, it's still cheaper than a Model S. So there you go. Speaking of Dongfeng, so I hear you've been checking out a Will Forte show that features not a Dongfeng but some Land Rovers.
Yeah, the lady friend, she's a fan of the murder mystery. So there was a murder mystery type show on the Netflix called Bodkin, which takes place in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a couple of podcasters that go to Ireland to follow the trail of some mystery that they're trying to solve trying to document.
Yep.
And throughout this, they meet all the locals, and apparently a lot of them drive Land Rovers. So I would say there's no fewer than maybe 8 or 10 series and Defender vehicles throughout the series.
Wow, that's awesome.
I think 7 episodes or something. Anyway, if you like murder mysteries and you like Land Rovers, check it out.
Yeah, and do you like Will Forte? And who doesn't? That guy's hilarious, man. He's amazing.
Yeah, it's a little bit more of a serious role, but he kind of plays a buffoon, which he's good at.
He's great. He's just great in everything. He's good at serious stuff. He's good at obviously very good at comedy. He's a great actor. I don't see enough of Will Forte. I love that guy.
Well, you sure can. Check it out on the Netflix.
And I hear you've also been listening to a Land Rover themed punk band.
You know, I don't know if it's a Land Rover themed punk band, but it is a punk band that has, or at least was photographed in front of a Land Rover. This is
It's good enough for me.
referring to the famous punk band, the Slits, an all-female punk group, I believe from the 80s. And we were listening to them in the shop the other day, and a photograph was being circulated of them all, posing in front of a Series 2A with kind of looked like a campery roof on it. Anyway, it was kind of cool. So if you're in the mood for that little bit of pop punk, check them out.
That's awesome. I'm going to have to give that a listen. If you're looking to only enjoy auditory entertainment that involves Land Rovers,
Land Rover related,
in between your listenings of the Underpowered Hour, then
yeah, you can mix that up with some Tech 9. He's got a series, that orange series.
That's right, that orange series. That's right. That's
and
right.
Paul McCartney music. You could listen
Paul
to
McCartney, yes. And we saw Bob Marley's Range Rover when we were.
We should make an Underpowered Hour playlist of songs that are only from Land Rover owning artists.
Great idea.
Yeah.
We absolutely
could make a CD. You could burn some CDs in your
some CDs
in your old computer.
We're gonna do it. Well, speaking of old computers, you guys had an opportunity to visit what is the product of an old computer technology of a computer mailing list. For those of you who were raised in the 1990s, you'll remember the computer mailing lists or the bulletin board systems. And our good friend Ben was one of those people that was involved in one of the most famous, maybe, Land Rover bulletin board systems and mailing lists that's now evolved into, I think it's a Google group now, right?
Yeah.
But the Mendo Recce group, and you guys headed out to the yearly gathering of do you call them Mendoids? What is there a name for the people? Mendoids? Is there people who attend this event? Do you have a name for the group? Mendists?
I think it's just losers.
Just losers, right? Yes, old car losers. Yeah,
old car losers. Yeah. So no, a lot of great folks. Though this is an event that has been going on for 30 years. So it's one of the older Land Rover events that's still happening. In the United States. And we haven't been in several years. It was previously held in the Mendocino National Forest.
Yep.
And the name Mendo kind of comes from Mendocino Reconnaissance. So, group of folks would go out and, kind of explore the forest roads and trails there in the Mendocino National Forest. So Cedar Camp is where it was held every year. Unfortunately, several years ago, Cedar Camp burned in a forest fire. And so since that time,
it's now held in a Mendocino Farms in downtown San Jose, right? Is that correct?
Basically. No, basically. Yeah. So our good friend John Braben of RangeRovers.net fame has a beautiful property, the Salmon Creek Ranch out there in Bodega Bay.
Yep.
And it's 500 acres of Land Rovering bliss.
Yep.
And he's generously allowed the Mendo group to sort of use that as a partially temporary, partially. Yeah. So, this is a property that even before he had it was used by Land Rover for, I think, the Trek events and stuff like that. So
cool.
There's some
I didn't realize
vestiges of those early Land Rover events. There's some log bridges and there's some camel trophy style obstacles, articulation, obstacles and these sorts of things. So it's a really cool spot. He's got a awesome tree house on the property, which if you are feeling up to it, you can rent on Airbnb. So you can jump on there, rent yourself a week at the Salmon Creek Ranch. And if you're lucky, maybe he'll let you drive Land Rovers around at the Salmon Creek Ranch. But more to the point, we decided the 30th anniversary was the year that we needed to return to Mendo. So we made an effort to go down and see all the good folks that we've been missing for the last few years at this great event.
John also does the hip camp thing on his property too. So if you're interested in staying there and not splurging for that fancy treehouse, you can camp there via the hip cam.
The treehouse is really cool.
Yeah.
I do splurge
Yeah.
on the treehouse.
I think
splurge.
the Mendo Recce origin was Granville's birthday. So I think that the very first year, 1994, it would have been, I guess, that they were looking for something to do for Granville's birthday. Granville is a great original Land Rover oracle in some senses. He was present for some early Land Rover events, and he's been an interesting person to know. And I think now
Granville Pool.
Granville Pool, isn't
yeah.
he's 79 now? Is that right? I think
He's 79. He lives in
Redwood Valley.
Ukiah area.
Valley. He lives in
Redwood Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been going to Mendo so long. I remember his 64th birthday, and I couldn't imagine that so many years have gone by already. But yeah, I think my first Mendo, I was trying to think of it this morning. My first Mendo, I drove the Park Ranger, and I bought the Park Ranger on eBay in December of 2004, and it arrived in the United States in early 2005. I'm pretty sure. And so I think my first Mendo was 2005, and it might have been 2006. I can't be sure. And I think I met Paul in Death Valley, Paul von Klostana in Death Valley in 2005, driving the Park Ranger. So I'm pretty sure my first Mendo was 2005, which is just incredible that it's so long ago.
Well, yeah, now that we've got that timeline straight, it is a great event, and we've been going to it a very long time. I want to say that I started going in maybe 15 years ago, something like that. It's been a while. 2007, 8, 9, somewhere in there. And always a good turnout. There's only one scheduled event, which is a potluck. So people typically bring their A game and really produce a nice meal for everybody to enjoy.
Mendo Recce used to have 2 annual events, and one was this, and the other was the annual run of the Mojave Road. And I don't think that event has occurred since I started going to Mendo. So maybe we should have a resurgence of that sometime. That would be kind of interesting.
We'll do an Underpowered Hour sponsored Mendo Mojave Road. That would be pretty fun. That's a good time. Mojave Road's a good time.
We were tied this year for the number of Land Rovers. The highest number we had 63, I think, this year.
Oh, wow.
63 vehicles and 7 Dormobiles in one place.
Whoa.
Which is, I mean, I've been Land Rovering for 22 years, and I've never seen 7 Dormobiles in the same place. I don't know, maybe you guys have, but that was a lot of Dormobiles.
Wow.
Really
well, certainly
neat.
not in the United States. I mean, maybe in the UK, but certainly not in the United States. And probably 0 Freelanders, I imagine.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
No Freelanders. There was somebody mentioned a Freelander, but that's, I think, as in depth as it got as far as Freelanders. So we decided that we were going to take completely untested vehicles down the 550 miles or something down the coast,
as is your
Scammon Creek Ranch.
Yeah. Sure, why not?
So our shipping manager Jason, he wanted to go, but he had some deferred maintenance on his own car, so we let him take the Nacho, and the Nacho is that orange and yellow Series 2 diesel that had basically 0 miles on it. We drove it about 10 miles for a test drive, and so this was a big test for a car that hasn't been on the road since the 70s.
Yeah.
Not only was it not on the road, it wasn't assembled.
Oh, right.
This wasn't just getting a car running that wasn't running. This was putting a car together from pieces. So it was a miracle that it even ran, really.
Yeah,
it was a miracle that it even ran, but it did really well. And then we also took the Saw truck, which is the 107 wagon that has been off the road basically since the 70s, and this was the first bigger trip for it. And both cars did really well. We didn't really have any significant problems on the way down. We took the coastal highway. Linus took his Dormobile. Also a bigger trip for the Dormobile, and just kind of poked along the highway. And I think we had one bulb that burned out, like a turn signal lens or turn signal light or something. But aside from that, we really didn't have any issues. And
I had to change my points.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, you had to
yeah.
change your points. But everywhere we stopped, we had a really positive reception. People were really excited about the vehicles, and they all had a story. I think there were 3 folks that we stopped, and they just came up to us and started talking to us about Land Rovers. One guy, he grew up in Ukiah area, and there, or no, Willits area, and there was a Land Rover dealer in Willits.
Oh, yeah.
And he said that there was a local lady that would deliver eggs to everyone's homes, and she drove a Series Land Rover.
Oh, cool.
And then at another point, a guy came up and he was like, "Oh, I rented one of these in the like Belize jungle in the 70s, and it didn't have any brakes, and I had to stop at this lodge." And I stopped and stayed overnight at this lodge, and Francis Ford Coppola owned the lodge, and he showed up with Jack Nicholson like the next day. And that was a funny story that this guy told us. And then we stopped at the beach to like run the dogs around as we were driving down the coast, and there's a surfer out in the ocean. Okay. And the surfer starts like coming in, and then he starts walking up the beach, and we're standing there like in front of the Land Rovers, and he's like, "Hey, whose 109 is that?" Like, and he was this really nice Australian guy who grew up with Land Rovers. His dad had a Land Rover collection.
Yeah.
And he had all kinds of Land Rover stories, but really random circumstance. Just this man comes out of the ocean and asks you about your car.
Yeah, I think he had some Pumas down there, didn't he? He had some of those, and
he had a Parenti.
Oh, Parenti. Yeah, right. Of course. Yeah,
Parenti.
sure.
Yeah, that's what I meant. And he had all kinds of great stories. Really nice guy, and well known in the town of Trinidad. And treated us some local things there that we went to the coffee shop that his friend has, and we ended up hanging out with him and standing on the side of the road and had a great time.
Fantastic.
Really good guy. His name's Dylan. You can't miss him if you're ever in Trinidad, California.
Yeah, he'll be out there surfing. So just
yes, he will.
He will be.
Yeah,
he will be. Yeah. Super nice guy. I think Linus and Jason might have stopped by his place on the way back.
Yeah. He offered to have us be able to stop and stay if we needed a spot on our way back, and it worked out that we came through that area right at the time when it was time to go to sleepish. So we give him a ring, and we did stay with him. He's got a nice spot just there outside of town. It's a mile from the freeway, and very nice of him to let us do that. Really great person, really neat house. Most of the living quarters are in the upstairs, and there's a porch, and it's in the redwoods. And really, it must be because he's from Australia, but he's got some really neat, interesting plants that he's growing. They're like flowering. I'm not a plant.
Yeah, he's got some
definitely growing some interesting
plants.
He's got some really, really beautiful trees growing and bamboos and flowering. They must be Australian plants. He's got them bordering his driveway. Really
invasive species.
Probably horrible, spreading wildly around and killing rare native species.
Yeah, that's right.
And
but beautiful,
full of weird right-hand drive beetles that are just chewing on redwood trees, just destroying stuff.
That's true. It's awful. Yeah, little Australian beetles. Crikey. Terrible. Yeah. Well, that's super cool. That's super cool. So how so what is the format then up there? Are there trail runs? Is it just sort of like a bunch of people ad hoc kind of like, hey, let's go do a little driving,
More that. The space is beautiful, and there are many trails, but they're fairly short. So you can sort of go around in circles. There's a couple challenging muddy hill climbs, and like Ike mentioned, that narrow log bridge, which you have to navigate carefully across. I think somebody went off of it actually on this trip. And there was a longer road.
Many recoveries.
There was a longer road sort of out the lower portion of the property. And there was a little bit of a slidey part there, and there was a disco that got off the trail there. And we, Brett and I, went out with some of the other folks to try to help them. And it was a very mild stick, that he wasn't even off the road, but because of the angle and the slickness of that, it actually turned into a long recovery where we had to pull from the front of the car and the back of the car.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there was some fence scraping and bumper ripping, but it was a good, fun recovery in the end. Aside from the difficulties of it, it was good practice for everybody. So.
Good.
Another fellow sunk his Range Rover in the creek crossing pretty good, and needed a good recovery. So general Land Rover shenanigans.
If any of you listeners remember our summer breakdown from a couple of years ago, where we had the motorcycle broken in the forest, this is the same place.
Same place.
So,
yeah.
Same place. So it mechanical systems tend to fail there for some reason.
Did the gentleman, the motorcycle mechanic guy, come out and visit you guys again out there?
We should have invited him.
Max. We should have invited Max for the Mendo. He would have maybe enjoyed that. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe
it's a good group of characters there. There's a fellow that sometimes comes to Mendo. His name is Jeremy Ainsworth. We've talked about him on the show before. He is a veteran of the many around the world excursions in Land Rovers and later Range Rovers and airplanes as well, and a veteran of the Darien Gap expedition in 1970. And he brought his 109 complete with the PTO winch that was fitted to the Pathfinder vehicle.
Of course.
Yeah, so it was cool to talk to him, and he was very kind and gave me a copy of the book that he wrote about his trip called Three Men's Meet. And it's about traveling around the world in a 58 Series 2 2-liter diesel truck.
Oof.
Oof, indeed. So it's all about, meeting the Maharaja and driving through all of the crazy places, Iraq, Iran, Pakistan, the Himalayas, all that stuff, all the way down to Australia and then up through South America and then through the United States and Canada.
Really need to have him on the show.
Trip.
Gotta get him on the show.
Great guy. He
gotta get him.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, super nice. Pia was there as well. Former Olympian.
Yep.
Pia McIsaac.
Yep.
She was there. Brought her 88 with her son, and they were out there driving the trails, camping in tents, and so it was really, really nice to see them as well.
The Matsons were all there. Very Land Rover known historic family as far as the desert explorations in the
Land Rover Matsons. Yeah.
The Land Rover Matsons.
Yeah,
and,
Marvin and his son Tyler lived down there in Reno.
Oh, I was just thinking of who else was there. Nick Baggerly was there from the Around the World Doormobile trip. He brought his Doormobile. Terry Ann Wakeman was there.
Oh, nice. Excellent.
It's hard to think of everybody who deserves. I mean, everybody should have their name, listed.
Bob Burns was there.
Bob Burns
Bob Burns was there. He showed up.
Love that guy.
Talked a little bit about the early days of marketing the Range Rovers and Discoveries and Defenders here in the United States. And Daphne Green was there.
Oh, fantastic! All of our favorite
Camel
people.
Trophy fame.
All of our favorite people.
Yeah, so it was really nice to see her.
Gotta get Bob Burns on the show too, man. All these people that we've been saying we got to get on the show. We gotta make a list. We got to get them on the show.
So I think what's amazing about Mendo is it's a real confluence of Land Rover enthusiasts with and not to dismiss the organization that does happen, but with minimal organizational efforts. And it's really an incredible event, and it kind of flies under the radar because there's no pamphlets, there's no dues or fees or any of that sort of stuff, no registration or schedules or commemorative t-shirts. It's all just it's all just kind of about the event and enjoying everybody's company and checking out everybody's vehicles. So it's really a special thing. So
that's exactly.
And they are an ANARC registered social club.
They are, that's right. Yeah, and obviously Ben Smith, very, very active in the ANARC community out there on the East Coast now, where he is now, and he and Dixon obviously tied at the hip over Placid Lassie, their DC-3 airplane that they're involved in, very cool guy.
Really wonderful experiences at Mendo over the years, and we missed the days of Cedar Camp, and we sort of signed off of it once Cedar Camp burned, and it was probably a mistake on our part to not have been going for the last 5 years because John is so
Right.
kind to offer his property, and it really is fun to see everybody. Just great memories with all of those guys. Great memories getting Greg Harwood's truck stuck and having people kinds of funny stuff, and just a lot of memories come back to you when you get to see all those people again. It was really great, really great.
Yeah.
Stephen, you'll have to
For
come
sure.
next time.
I was planning on coming this year, but unfortunately, the Queen's English Car Festival, which is something that we've committed to every year now for, again, the last decade here, scheduled the exact same weekend. So we so we covered that one down here, and Chris, who doesn't listen to the show, and I talked about that on last week's episode. That was also great. We saw tons of great people, tons of great cars, and had a heck of a time down here as well. We took the fire truck out, the Firefly, for the first time, and people absolutely loved that. And man, driving a close to 5.5 ton Series 2A up some very steep hills is not a quick process. That is.
Did you have to go in reverse?
Well, just about. Oh my goodness! Chris had his brand new Mini that we have lovingly called finger tight, as not a single bolt on that car arrived any more than finger tight, including the wheel hub nuts. But they were simply held on by the shear pins. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Liza drove the yellow wagon, and I took the Firefly, and Chris took the Mini, and so we were a relatively slow cotillion heading to Woodley Park. But it was a great time, and I did get the siren working on the Firefly almost immediately upon arrival. Tail lights and those kind of things don't necessarily work all that consistently, but the siren works. And that's all
that's the important part.
Critical part.
That's all that matters.
Part.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there a bell?
There isn't a bell. There's a siren, and there's a red light, and then there's like a dome light. I haven't quite got the dome light working yet, but
do you think it ever had a bell?
I may have. Jean-Luc's got a similar. He's got one of the other 8 Fireflies, and his is configured quite a bit differently. His was configured for like local town fire brigade service, whereas mine is set up for oil field service. So mine's got these giant lights on it, and a PTO driven generator for those giant lights, and all kinds of different stuff. But the cabinets and everything are in the same places, right? The box on the back of the pumps and everything are the same, but the secondary equipment seems to be almost completely different for every one of the 8 that they made. Like, they didn't really make 2 of them the same, so they all sort of have different little bits.
There was a 109 at Mendo that was some kind of ambulance or something of that sort, and it had an electric bell
fire
on
engine.
the front. Was it?
Oh yeah,
it's a fire engine. It had an electric bell on it. It was pretty neat. Those guys drove around with communication headsets and microphones on so they could hear each other talk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's
and then so after Mendo, we had another little event we went to too. I guess that was the Rover Rendezvous.
Yeah.
PCRC.
The very next weekend, the PCR was having their annual kind of flagship event, the Rover Rendezvous, and they changed things up this year. They have been doing it at the fairgrounds up in Chehalis, Washington for years. And they decided, hey, we're going to go to a different format. This is going to be a camping weekend instead. So they rented out a campground overlooking the Cascade Locks, there in the Hood River.
Yeah.
And it was a really nice little spot. They've got a campground there that it's right on the edge of the river, and the barges are going through the locks and everything. It was a pretty cool spot.
It's a very special campground too. It's like a 1930s CCC campground with all these beautiful stone walls and little pathways, and it has this really neat original lodge. It's very small, but it's in original condition. It has a little meeting room with a big fireplace and a little covered porch with a stone floor, and really a neat place. You don't get to see those CCC campgrounds very often, and a lot of them are much less original and untouched than this one was. It was really cool.
Nice.
Unfortunately, you're kind of sort of stuck there because it's right off Highway 84, and there's not really anywhere you could go outside of the campground.
That's not entirely true. Some of the before we got there, some of the other Land Rovers had gone out and done some of the trails in the Coast Range. So
yeah, you have to drive a long way to get to them. problem is the
You
only
do.
problem.
You
can't
do.
just
But it is
sneak under the highway and get anywhere. You have to drive down the highway. So
it was a pretty cool event. They had kind of a cookout in the evening. They had dinner for everybody, salmon and chicken, and then the next morning they did a big breakfast for everyone. So hats off to the PCRC for doing a really really nice event. That if you're paying your PCRC membership dues, you get your money's worth just
Yeah.
going to one event.
Yeah,
they had a
it's
really
true,
nice raffle, gave away several $1,000s worth of
Yeah.
stuff there.
I've been putting off joining the PCRC because it's just another club and another payment, and you're a member of this organization and that organization, and I just couldn't have another one. Didn't have the bandwidth for it, and as soon as I got home, I signed up for the PCRC. Those guys are on it. They are really great. And if you're not a member and you're in the area, it's worth every penny. And as Ike just said, if you go to one event, you receive more than your annual dues are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really worth it. They must be.
Do they
running
have do they have like an affiliate membership? I know some clubs do. Ontario. I'm a member of the Ontario Club, and a few
I'm
of
not
those
sure
is like
that
an
know.
affiliate
I don't
member.
know.
No, okay,
I don't think
That'd
so.
be a question for the president, Bruce Franklin. He does a really good job of keeping the club going. They have a pretty involved board, that's fairly diverse. Some board members are interested in like hard off-road events, and then some board members are more interested in like overlanding travel. And so, there's a what I like to think is a diversity of events that everybody can enjoy. So whether you want to take your family on a chill camping trip, or whether you want to do like a winery tour, or whether you want to do some like hardcore rock crawling, there's events for you within that. It's pretty cool. Definitely check it out.
That's awesome. I know that.
And so we've got yet another event this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, as we are recording this, obviously this is going to come out after this has already happened. But we're getting ready for the big Anarch West Coast extravaganza. Speaking of the PCRC, and can't wait. It's going to be it's going to be so much. Well, it has been so much fun. Probably, or maybe one of us died. Who knows? Well, you have to tune in, I guess.
You'll have to tune in. We had so much fun at this event next weekend. It's gonna be great.
Man, and when your pants fell off, and everyone laughed.
Amazing. Everybody laughed.
We're just so lucky no one died in that fire.
I'm sorry you had to leave the Freelander in that ditch out in Eastern Oregon.
It made sense though. It is where it belongs. Yeah, it's I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and of course we're going to be up at Pangolin then on the Monday, which is always fun. It's we don't get up.
We're going to have a booth at the. We had a booth.
We had a booth. It was wildly successful. Yeah, wildly successful.
We gave away a lot of really great raffle items, and Pangolin 4x4. Pangolin 4x4 sold so many really cool things.
So much stuff. Yeah, everybody got a Tiny Ike sticker for their series Land Rover, making it 10% more powerful than it was before.
Those complimentary shawarmas that you made were delicious.
So delicious. Yes. Really,
and as promised, the tattoos.
Oh yeah,
that you gave out, the Underpowered Hour tattoos. Brilliant.
Really.
The one that guy got on his neck.
Yeah.
They're free if you get them somewhere visible above the neckline.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's right. We pay you if they're below the neckline. If they're below the belt line, even more. It's a good time. It's a good time. We've got now exactly. So we're getting ready. We're packing up here. We're bringing the 3D scanner up to Pangolin. We're going to scan some parts. We're going to scan Linus. It's going to be amazing.
Forward to that.
Yeah, to your scanning. Everybody's going to be able to have their own like 1/8 scale Linus to put on their desk.
It's a doorstop. stop. It's a door stop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're
gonna somehow even the 1/8 scale like plastic Linus is really heavy.
Yeah, it's super heavy. We don't know why. It doesn't make sense. It sort of defies physics. They're working on it, but no, exactly. So yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun, and we're gonna create a lot of YouTube content up there as well. So look out on the old Underpowered Hour YouTube for that, as we'll be putting that up. So
if you are there, come by and see if you
if you were there.
You can,
hopefully you came by.
When you came by our booth and got interviewed by the Underpowered Hour.
Yeah, it was great.
Do come and check on us and see if you can get some comments on our podcast. You'll have a fun time.
You had a great time. It was
you had a great time. It was wonderful. Thank you for your comments.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, do check out the old YouTube. We've got lots of great stuff up there, more 3D printing stuff up there. And we're about, I think probably by now, the trailer wiring upgrade stuff will be up there. We're going to do a bunch of vehicle walkarounds with Ike and Linus. So you'll actually get to see things like the Saw truck and all these famous Land Rovers that you hear us talk about every week. So head on over to our YouTube channel to check those out so that you can put some some door sills to the names of these famous storied Land Rovers.
Stephen's historic, well-known Series 3 that everybody talks about.
Everybody talks about my beige. It'll be there. And Linus is enjoying it now. He loves the Series 3.
That thing screams.
It's a great car. It's a great car. It's a great car.
It's a great car.
It really goes. Yeah, it's a great car. So, well, with that, it's been a slice. Great to hear about all the events. And Linus, it's always a pleasure hanging out. And
thanks for having me.
Look forward to seeing you in person and having already seen you or whatever.
Another event that you aren't camping at.
It's true. I'm coming in hot from a week in Florida. I am doing my campus rotation at Full Sail University next week. So Abigail and I will be
campus rotation. That's a euphemism if I've ever heard.
Oh man,
there you go. So I will be coming in hot from Full Sail in Florida. So no camping for me. But I do camp. I was camping last weekend. You guys just you never see it. You never see it.
No one's ever seen it, but
well, until then,
until then, we'll see you guys next week, and keep it between the ditches. The Underpowered Hour is produced by Liza Beres, Ike Goss, and me, Steve Beres. Pavel Svardov composed and performed our theme music. Consider supporting the show on Patreon, and if you already do, thank you. Your support makes the show possible. For even more, check out our Instagram or Facebook.